Welcome to Earth. We've been looking forward to your interview for life. May we see your resume? I'm sorry, it appears you are a little underqualified for the job. I'll see you out to the door on your left. Off the side of a fucking mountain! At least, that's how I was told to be in Sparta. Thankfully, modern society is past using arbitrary standards to dictate a child's worth. Ethics aside, training from a young age provides a plethora of beneficial adaptations, including better motor skills, denser bone mass, and increase in muscle strength endurance, mass, and power. Moreover, if a prepubescent were to train in calisthenics or plyometrics, their inevitable growth is actually a training principle known as progressive overload, where a metric of training is increased over time, leading to explosive power, strength, and or mass to scale. On the other hand, the trainee's tendons will greatly benefit from frequent exposure to stimulus at an early age. This study regarding the growth of one's tendon over the course of life states, patella tendon length is significantly shorter in elementary school boys of 11 years than junior boys of 14 years and adult males, whilst patella tendon diameter increased across all age groups, indicating a difference in the temporal growth of tendon dimensions. However, both length and CSA of the Achilles tendon were similar between 14-year-olds and adults, and significantly greater in 11-year-olds, suggesting that these variables may become stable in boys around 14 years of age. Given the significance of tendon hypertrophy, the study regarding the tendon development compared tendons of foals that were left in stalls, at pasture, and trained. After euthanasia, superficial digital flexor tendons were isolated and fit in a material testing system. Normalized force at rupture, normalized force at 4% strain, strain at rupture, stress at 4% strain, and stress at rupture were compared among and within the groups. The TLDR is that in early life, training and playing will yield similar results in tendon development, meaning all tendons that frequently deal with load will have greater capacity to absorb and return kinetic energy. Which is why we should all raise our kids on pasture and let them play all day. When considering the physical aspect of sports, training is the most efficient way to spend your time. However, once you look at literally any other factor in kids' sports, then training begins to seem a little unnecessary. Each sport is heavily nuanced in their respective ways and will take years to master. However, you can't expect a child to choose a specialty for the rest of their life. Hence, you provide them with a base of athleticism that carries over to pretty much everything. And it really is as simple as it sounds. In early years, it's essential to establish a relationship between movement and fun. This includes literally any form of playing, ideally with someone who's closely related to a positive emotion. This way, playing or recreational sports becomes a form of bonding in which the physical and cognitive development become byproducts of a good time. On the point of physical development, the majority of sports require multi-directional movement in the form of cuts, hops, and split steps. This high-frequency stimulus receives the entire weight of the body plus change, and all that movement concentrates at the calcaneal tendon. Over time, this repetitive motion will increase the stiffness of the tendon, improving the elastic return of kinetic energy. Furthermore, the surrounding muscles of the feet, foot arc, ankles, and calf get conditioned to absorb forces for prolonged durations, providing a foundation of injury prevention or prehab from the ground up. Early years are also a golden period to develop flexibility, as muscles and ligaments in the fresh human are much more pliable. This carries over into prehab as no excess restrictions will force their body into positions that are prone to injury. Here, the most important factor is frequency, as the body will adapt to excess rest if given. Again, enjoyment first, and something like rock paper scissors splits could be an excellent way to develop flexibility for both parties. Inevitably, there comes a time when pure training becomes a necessity for longevity and improving performance. Initiation may vary between individuals depending on when they develop an interest or a genuine need for hard conditioning, but a good time to introduce something like weightlifting and weights would be around the start of puberty, when physical adaptations begin to peak. Emphasis should be placed on light prehab work and developing strength through a range of motion. Yielding isometrics are also an excellent test of will, something that could be developed over time. On the other hand, overcoming isometrics can rapidly increase strength and gauge how far your training is willing to push himself. While introducing some structure, it is still important to maintain a positive relationship with movement, maintaining a high frequency of activity throughout the day. After developing a base of strength, or mid to late puberty, you can begin specialization, where conditioning from childhood and the base of strength really shine. The muscles that were developed during prehab will more or less create a platform of conversion to a specific muscle type and will be built upon. At this point, just don't forget to enjoy your sport and strive to move freely for as long as you live. If you can do that, then you'll probably do just fine. That was LATAD. The long-term athlete development model is more or less a set of guidelines to stay active for life. Speaking of life, you should get one too. 30 to 70 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight for all ages, non-negotiable. In children aged 3 to 7, you're looking at around 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 20 to 30% of their daily energy, accompanied by 55 to 60% of energy coming from carbs, and the remaining 10 to 30% coming from fats. As the child grows, the ratio remains more or less the same, though the protein should scale reasonably, as 11 to 14-year-olds consume 1.1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and 15 plus should be around 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Do not neglect your fiber. And don't forget your micronutrients, which are these. For myself, a shopping list for a week or two may look something like this.
Banana, salmon, egg whites, whey, Greek yogurt, lentils, kidney beans, rice, tomatoes, spinach, carrots, orange, or tangerine, broccoli, raisins, kiwi, beverages, some sort of frozen berries,
and Jello. Why Jello? Well, a study showed that 5 grams of collagen or gelatin and 500 milligrams of vitamin C or one orange an hour before a workout reduces joint inflammation in the knee and ankles while increasing rate of recovery. For athletes, this means more meaningful reps or playtime, of which the effects can stack over time. However, nutrition and exercise simply aren't enough to keep the possibility of injuries zero, for humans are only mortals and fall off portables. Even if they become more useless than they already are, immobilize them only if necessary. Otherwise, let them move until they feel pain. Not the muscle burning pain, not the emotional pain, rather the kind that invades your mind and doesn't pay rent and leaves at a moment's notice just to come back if you cut them off. For example, green stick fractures should realign themselves after immobilizing them in a cast or splint for 4 to 6 weeks, and see a certified osteopath. In the case of a sprain, move what you can. Flossing 1,000 reps a day will get you back into the gym. Full details can be found in this video by Knees Over Toes Guy. For those who still use rice, it has been disproved a multitude of times, including the study link in the description. Rice treats the symptom rather than addressing the cause, which is the pain caused by swelling. Resting, icing, compression, and elevation are all done in efforts to reduce the swelling and therefore pain. However, the idea of swelling is to get as much blood as possible to the given area, in which the nutrients and microorganisms in the blood proceed to heal the injury. Movement or recruitment of local muscle groups will also prompt more blood flow to that area, so unless you feel pain, movement is medicine. Pain is also a natural indication that it should not be used, an evolutionary trait that we simply ignore because most people can't take the pain. Deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth would help, and better yet, get a friend to distract you. For pulled muscles, no need to worry much. They're kids, so just give them water, food, and a good night's sleep, and they'll live. To recap, play with your kids. It makes their tendons strong and their brains big. And train with teens, developing a base of strength so they can specialize later. And feed your kids, ages 3 to 6, 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Ages 11 to 14, 1.1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and 15 plus at 1.2 to 1.6 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Eat Jello and oranges an hour before sports, and if for a while they complain, if they tick you off and make you want to rip your hair out, just don't throw your child down a mountain.